Let's talk quickly about the steps that you need to take to set up your district writing assessment in Google Classroom so that the students can complete and turn in the assignment, as well as receive the rubric and the scores that they have earned for their writing. To do this, you're going to open your prompt script. In this case, my example is going to be using the 8th grade pre-argumentative script. If you're in 6th or 7th grade, your stuff should look very similar and these steps should still work for you. What you need to do first is you need to open up two different files. You're going to scroll down through here and you need to find the example of the actual prompt for the kids. And this one, it's in the day 4 materials. And so I'll click on that prompt and I'll open it up. Then back over here while that's opening, I'm also going to open the rubric. The rubric on here happens to be a little bit sooner, and you can see that there's two versions. I have a rubric right here that's a Google Doc. This is sort of the pretty version where everything is laid out nicely. And there's also a Google Sheet version where it's not quite as nice looking, but this is the version that you'll use in Google Classroom for your grading. So I'll open up that version as well. Once each of these files opens, you need to make a copy of each file for you to be able to put them in Google Classroom and attach copies for your students. If you are not the owner of the file, Google will not allow you to make copies for each student when you create that assignment. So with each of them, you're going to click File, make a copy, and make your own version. Now that I have copies of each of the two files that I need for Google Classroom, it's time for me to go to Google Classroom and create the activity. So in my classwork or classroom, I will go to the classwork tab and click Create. I'm going to make this be an assignment, and I need to set this up like I would any normal assignment. So I'll give it a title, District Writing Assessment. I can give instructions here if I choose to do so. So I can say, please complete your district writing assessment. Be sure to write your response in the box provided. Right, so that gives my students the information that they need. The next thing that I need to do is I need to attach the file that I would like for my students to work with. In this case, it is going to be this Google Doc, the copy of the argumentative prompt. So I'm going to go to Add and Google Drive, and I'm going to find that file wherever it was that I left it. Very likely you'll find it right here in your recents because you had just opened it and just made a copy. So here it is. I can click here and I can go ahead and insert that for my students. Notice that it's defaulting to that students can view the file. So I want to make sure that I change that to make a copy for each student. If you skip that step, you will need to either reuse your post and remake this edit here and then delete the original, or you will have to recreate your post and delete the original. If you forget this step, you have to go back and start over basically. After that, I decide who's going to get the assignment. If I've got multiple classrooms, I can go ahead and check multiple classrooms that I want to have the assignment. Obviously, all students will receive it. If you have grade categories set up in Google Classroom, you can go ahead and choose a category as well. If you wanted to inform your students of how this is falling, you can adjust your points as well. From there, the last step that I need to do is fill in any due dates or topics, and then finally include my rubric. And this rubric that I'm including is this Google Doc version right over here, or this Google Sheet. I need to attach that to the file here. So I'm going to go to Rubric, and I'm not creating it from scratch. Instead, I'm going to import it from Sheets. And the reason I'm going to choose import instead of reuse is because if I choose reuse, it is going to look to a very specific folder on your Google Drive that this file is likely not located in. So instead, let's go ahead and let's import it. And you can see it's automatically filtering to spreadsheets because it knows it should be a spreadsheet. And so here's where I can click on that file and click Add. Once that has been imported, you can see here how it's set up, and I can take a look and see everything. You should not need to make any edits or changes to this rubric, though. You should just be able to click Save and use it as is. At that point, I'm done setting this up, and I can assign the activity to my students. Now, what does this look like on the student end of things? Let's come over here to one of my pretend students, and we're going to take a look at what she sees. So here's Bethany. She is logging into Google Classroom. She's going to open up My Classroom, and she is going to go to the Classwork tab. Here's where she can see this district writing assessment that I just created, and she can view the assignment. Once she views the assignment, she can see her directions here, and she can see the rubric as it stands right now. She can also click the expand button on any of the criterion to see a little bit more detail and see if there was specific information on how she can achieve each of the different levels. So what Bethany would do is she would go ahead and open up this file. She would go ahead and she would type her essay inside this box and fill it out. And when she is completely done writing at the end of the second day of working, she would be able to turn her work in. She can do that using the Turn In button right here in Google Docs, or she can go back to Google Classroom and click Turn In here. Either way would get the assignment turned into the teacher. Now that Bethany has turned it in, let's see what it looks like on the teacher end. So I'm going to come back to my teacher window here, and I can see in my assessments here, I'm going to click on this district writing assessment, and I'm going to click view assignment. I can see I have one student who turned it in, 16 who it is assigned to. If I click view assignment, I can see the list of all the students and I can see their versions. And so here's Bethany's. So if I click on Bethany and I click on her file, it is going to open it up in the editing viewer. And so I can take a look at Bethany's version. I can see the work that she's done. I can read all of the things that she's written as far as her essay inside the box. And over here is where I can score her. So this is where I see that same rubric that Bethany saw. So here's the rubric. I can see the introduction. I can expand it if I need to see the different elements, and I can assign her a score. She's fully proficient in her intro. I can expand the next section, and I can work through each of the different criterion and assign scores to Bethany for how she has achieved on each of those elements. Once I have given her scores for each of the different areas, I can go ahead and click return. You'll notice as I'm scoring her, it is adding the total points that she's received so far, 5 out of 40, and it's figuring out the percentage for me as well because I left the assignment worth 100%. Once I've gone through and scored her completely, I can click return and give her back her assignment with her grade, and Bethany can see how she did on her essay. Hopefully this helps you. If you have any questions, please reach out to either your ELA or tech coach, and we would be happy to help.